Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. Josh here with Josh's Lawn and Landscape. Just got to the job. The one I was at yesterday didn't do any filming, but just a ton of leaves here to clean up, and I might show you kind of like a generalized what it would have looked like before and now what it looks like now. Did get some rain today, but yeah, so I'll try to show you a little bit. But what this video is going to be about is I'm going to try to do a 200-hour review of the Quiktrak. This is this John Deere Quiktrak 652R. Any of you who watch my channel probably know just about everything about this mower by now, but just wanted to give a thoughts and review on the mower now that I've gotten a lot of use out of it. So yes, it has a lot more than 200 hours on it. It actually has 1356, but I have put just over 200 of those hours on it. I'm roughly about 215. So I'm gonna get a little bit of work done, and then I'll get into kind of some pros and cons and my thoughts on the mower overall after having used it for basically a whole season, 215 hours, and let y'all know what I think about it. So stay tuned. Alright y'all, well, as you can see, I got the Quiktrak back on the trailer. We'll get back to that. This is pretty much what the whole yard looked like. He's going through here. He's got to blow through and pick up pecans, so he didn't want me mowing this, so just left that alone. But that's pretty much what everything looked like. And then when I got done, it looks like that. So I'll be back to do my review shortly. Alright, so I'm back to do the review here on the standard, the John Deere Quiktrak 652R EFI, 52-inch cut, obviously, 25 horse EFI Kohler engine. So like I said, I've done a review of this mower before, but it was a demo, had wheels on it, and I just had about 6 or 7 hours of use. Pretty much same mower, but anyway, just that was kind of initial thoughts, initial review. This one I have about 215 hours on, as I stated at the beginning of the video. So let's get into this real quick and talk about some pros and cons. So overall, love the machine. It does a good job. It's kind of turned into my primary mower, even over my Z-Track here. And as you know, I really like my Z-Track. Solid machine, does a great job. And but I've kind of gone to the standard game here. So I'll be right back, y'all. Hold on just a minute. Got a call coming in. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. So to get to the point, again, I've become a stand-up fan. So to talk about some positives and negatives, I'll start out with the positives and just kind of, well, you know what, never mind. I'm going to start out with some cons, because I like to end on a good note. Well, at least I hope I do. So a couple of, let's say, cons about it. I'm not a fan at all of the deck raise and lower system. Just not my favorite. I've grown used to it, but I would much prefer the handle that has the button here that you push and kind of release, and then all your settings and stuff is over here with the the pin style, because down here is your deck pin, and so this kind of, I guess, has a latch here that goes up, comes across, goes up here to this lever. Sometimes it's just really aggravating to get this to release. I mean, I fully know how it works. You know, it's just a simple, you know, you got to pull it back enough, let it down. No button, and then you just pull it back up to lock it in place. But yeah, not a fan of this. Just, you know, it works. I've grown accustomed to it, just not my favorite. So that's one thing that I'm not a big fan of. The platform is a little comfortable, but I guess a small thing is I think they could be a little better on the suspension part of the platform. It's simply the little coil springs there. So when you stand on the platform, it contacts that bar and those springs compress, and that's pretty much all the suspension you got. No additional like spring here or here. This is just for the safety switch for the platform. Let's see. Not the biggest fan of the controls being up under the handles. I think they would be better suited to be back here, and then you can have your decals and stuff up front. I think it would be, because you've got this place for your mulch on demand switch, but I just think it would be better to have just to move. There's the ignition switch. I mean, you can move it here, PTO here, throttle here, you know, or even throttle right here on this side, and then have your PTO in the middle, ignition, and then your hour meter could even be moved back. It's not really in a bad spot, but just having all of this stuff up under here with the key and everything, not the biggest fan of that, but you get used to it. So that's kind of some of the biggest negatives. And I know this is an older model, but I am not a huge fan of this Kohler engine. It's still going, it does a good job, but for what is rated as a higher horsepower motor, I would rather have this engine, which is the 730 Kawasaki, which you can get on one of these. It's an option for this model, but obviously when I bought the used one, this was the best deal, and this is what it had on it. I know a lot of people love Kohler. It's a decent engine. I'm just not a fan of it. I'm a Kawasaki guy, and I just think Kawasaki is a little bit better. So y'all don't jump all over me for that. Again, that's personal preference, but as for the purposes of the review, I would prefer the Kawasaki, but Kohler's getting it done. Just trying to think of any other things. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the deck lift. I think they could do better with the placement of the controls there. I think they could have done a better job with the deck belt system. Not sure why they did a split belt. As you can see, you got the double pulley. So the bottom belt goes from this side of the deck to the center pulley and back to the PTO. And then you just have this one short belt that goes from the top of the center pulley over to here, which means you have two tensioners, tension springs, all of that stuff, instead of just your one tensioner on your belt and have it go all the way around. Now that may be because of spacing, as far as the belt going back to the back or something of that nature. I'm not sure why it's designed that way, but not the biggest fan of the split belt system on there. So, because it doesn't matter if one belt breaks or not, because if it's one big belt, the blades stop. If it's one small belt, a blade stops. So it really doesn't carry an advantage to have in split belt as far as that goes, the operation of it. So that's probably the biggest negatives. Not really a big negative, but I think overall the pad is nice. I think they could do a little bit better, maybe with some bolstering on the sides, just to kind of, you know, when you get into making some turns and stuff, or stuff sometimes, when your body shifts, I think it'd just be better to have a little bit of that. But overall, the pad's okay. So minor thing there, minor thing with the platform. Probably the two biggest things is the controls and the deck lift. So now, positives. My thoughts on this is, oh, sorry, hold up on that. One more small negative, I think they can do maybe some kind of a redesign to do a bigger tank, or more fuel capacity. Maybe tuck the battery up underneath the tower and do a dual tank system or something like that. Not sure, but the way they got it, just one small thing there that I think they could improve on. I think this is like a 5.5 gallon tank. I do like that you had good visibility for your gauge right here in the top. And I think they ought to, the other thing with the tank is, I think they ought to swap sides. I think just about every mower John Deere has, the tanks are on the opposite side, just like the Z. So obviously when I pull up to the gas station, if this one's not full, I either have to hope they have a really long hose, or this has to be turned around on the trailer. So that's one other small thing. So positives. Good cutting machine. Does a great job. Y'all seen it in action plenty of times. The visibility is unbelievable, as with any standard, but again, I do like the simplicity of the parking brake. It's simply, you know, your handle here, it's all, but when you pull it back, it just applies the clamp basically to the wheels. So that goes on and off, no problem. Size, visibility, obviously keys with a stander. The controls are very responsive. Not a problem whatsoever. I did do a video, if y'all will go back, a little while about adjusting the tracking, because at one point this mower was actually, somebody had adjusted this really close to the front, which is a pretty good span. You can see the way I've got this, but it's enough that, you know, I can start out pretty easy. But the way I've got this adjusted now is much better. It was at a point, for some reason, this thing was traveling faster in reverse than forward, the way somebody had it adjusted before I got it. So good speed, like I say, controls are pretty smooth, good maneuverability, good vision. One positive, I guess I can say, obviously with the EFI, is it doesn't seem to use the fuel that the carbureted engine uses, which is pretty standard across the board. But I think you, as compared to these two engines anyway, you sacrifice some of the torque. I think you get better torque on the carbureted engine. And just as a side note to John Deere, again, I've said this before, I'm a big John Deere person. I'm not sponsored by John Deere. They don't send me anything, and there's nothing to do with that. This is just my experience from having operated John Deere mowers for going on 12 years, so, or longer actually, but basically in the business part of it, 12 years. They need to catch up in the power department. I know they have some bigger mowers that you can get, but I think even the 61-inch mower still only has these two options. the 25 horse Kohler and the 23.5 Kawasaki. So pretty much everybody else out there has a 28, 29 horse, and even a lot of them are offering the 37 horse on a lot of stuff. Some even maybe more than that. But yeah, I think they could improve a little bit in that department. Not saying you got to put a 37 on this thing. I think a FX 921, the 31 Kawasaki, would be absolutely a beast on this mower. It's lightweight, like I said. Accessibility to a lot of things overall is good. You know, get your battery here. Your spark plugs are on the front out here, so they're pretty easily accessible on the front. You've got your, as with most standards, you've got your flip up control panel here, so you can get to your hydros and your hydraulic tank, fuel filter. So everything's pretty accessible, pretty compact. There's a few tight squeezes y'all have probably heard me mention, but overall that's just a few things, opinions of mine, my review of the Quiktrak. Would I buy one of these new today? I guess would be the big question after service, everything that this one's been through, obviously. So I will say this: yes. The caveat would be, obviously, because of my opinion of it, I would have the Kawasaki engine rather than the Kohler. But I also think for the money, based on other demos and things that I've done as well, there are other viable options. One big thing with this, with John Deere, is I have 1, 2, 3, 4 John Deere dealers within roughly 40 minutes or less of my house. One is about 5 minutes from my work. So dealer support, as with any mower, is huge. So that's one thing I have here with this. Other than that's pretty much everything for this review. Again, 200-hour review. Just wanted to go over it again. If I had to go back, would I still prefer to have this over my Toro that I essentially traded for this? Yes. Just with the visibility and maneuverability of this thing and some things that it allowed since I've had it, despite the maintenance issues, yes, I would still get this machine. Again, if I were to buy new, it would have the Kawasaki. So that's my thoughts on it. Again, I am a little biased to John Deere, I guess you could say, but still, that's my honest review. There are some things that John Deere can improve on. I think they could boost the horsepower a little bit. One thing that I forgot to mention, let me turn the camera back around, is, I've said this before, if they're going to continue to produce a stand-on mower, whether they completely do a redesign, or whether they keep this platform and just make a few changes, one change that John Deere needs to make on this mower is the deck. Again, I said it, this does a good job. It's a pretty good cut overall, but I would much prefer to have this deck, the 7-iron Pro deck, on that machine. Again, you give me this mower with a 7-iron Pro deck and the 31 Kawasaki, and I'll just about probably put it up against any other stand-up that's out there. And I've demoed a Wright ZK, I've demoed a Skag V-Ride, I've demoed a Bad Boy Revolt. I've demoed a Wright Standard X, which is kind of essentially what this is, either this or a Standard B. So, but I think those two things, the power plant and swapping the deck, make those two changes, and this would be an awesome machine. Again, I like it overall. I could easily see me buying another one down the road, but it would have the Kawasaki. So again, I'm rambling. I tend to do that. Hopefully you found this review helpful. That is my 200-hour review on the John Deere Quiktrak 652R. So thank y'all, as always. Y'all be safe, be kind, be blessed, and have a happy new year. Catch you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.